My mum moved in with us just for a few weeks after her surgery. That's what we told the kids. That's what we told the neighbours. That's what I told my boss when I asked if I could work from home for a bit. We'll get her back on her feet, I said. Then she'll go home. I meant it. I believed it. I even said it the night I carried her suitcase up our stairs, trying to ignore how light it felt, how much she'd already let go of. It's temporary, love, she said, squeezing my arm when she caught me glancing at the bag. I'm not moving in. I'm not that kind of mother-in-law. We both laughed. Now it's been a year. Her toothbrush lives beside mine. Her slippers are lined up neatly by the couch. Her chair at the dinner table is as permanent as any other. Somewhere between just until you're better and Mum, can you please stop reorganizing my kitchen? Those few weeks stretched into something bigger, heavier, and harder to name. This is the story of how my mother moved in for a few weeks, how my life slowly rearranged itself around her, and what it took to admit that I was standing in the middle of the classic sandwich generation, squeezed hard between aging parents and my own kids, trying not to get flattened. Chapter 1. The spare room that wasn't really spare. When Mum first fell, it didn't seem like a life-changing event. Old people fall. That's what the internet says. That's what a doctor said, in gentler words. She's lucky, he told me, hands in his pockets. Yes, the hip fracture is serious, but she's in good shape otherwise. With surgery and rehab, she should be walking again in a few months. A few months? It sounded bearable. Mum lived alone in a small bungalow 30 minutes from us. Dad had died 5 years earlier, and she'd made a whole quiet life around that loss. Bridge nights, church coffee mornings, a garden full of roses he'd planted. She was fiercely independent. I don't need anyone fussing over me, she'd say, swatting my hand away when I tried to carry her groceries. You've got your own life. I'm not your project. Then she slipped in the garden one rainy morning. Just a small misstep on the wet stones. 1 second upright, the next on the ground, pain shooting up her leg so sharp she couldn't even call for help. She lay there, she later told me, staring at the grey sky, thinking, this is it. This is how they find me, face down in the petunias. Thankfully, Mrs. Harris from next door came out to put her bins out, saw Mum and called an ambulance. By the time I got to the hospital, Mum was groggy from pain meds but still crackling with indignation. They're making a fuss, she said. It's a small fracture. They're acting like I've been run over by a lorry. You can't walk, I pointed out. She sniffed. Details, she muttered. Surgery happened. Rehab was scheduled. Words like mobility aids and full risk were thrown around in pastel-coloured pamphlets. The question no one wanted to say out loud, but everyone was thinking eventually landed in the room. Who's going to be with you at home? The discharge planner asked. Mum opened her mouth, closed it. She'd always had an answer for everything. This time she looked small, lost. Well, my daughter's just half an hour away, she said, finally, but she's got the kids, and work, and everything. The planner turned to me. I'm here, I said automatically. We'll figure something out. At home that night, I stood in the doorway of our so-called spare room. It wasn't really spare. It was half playroom, half office, half dumping ground the maths of modern suburban living. There was a futon somewhere under the piles of Lego, craft supplies, and boxes of clothes the kids had outgrown, but I hadn't had the heart to give away. "It's only for a few weeks," I told my husband, Mark, stacking board games into a too small cupboard. "Of course," he said. "Your mum needs us. We'll make it work." He meant it. I meant it. We cleared the room. We washed the bedding, put fresh flowers on the windowsill, laid her favourite blanket across the foot of the bed like a hotel. "Temporary," I reminded myself, fluffing the pillow. My therapist would later tell me that humans are very good at lying to themselves in times of crisis. At the time, it felt less like a lie and more like hope. Chapter 2. The weeks that filled up. The first weeks were, in some ways, almost nice. Busy, exhausting, but nice. Mum came home from rehab in a taxi with a walker, a bag of medications, and a list of exercises. "Don't you dare treat me like glass," she said as I helped her up the front steps. "I'm old, not made of sugar." She moved slowly, but her spirit hadn't dulled. The kids, 7 and 10, were thrilled. "Granny's living with us?" Mia, the younger one, said, eyes wide. "Like permanently?" "Not permanently," I said quickly. "Just for a little while, until her hip is better." "How long is a little while?" Ben asked, suspicious. He's always been the one who wants firm numbers. "A few weeks," I said. "Maybe a couple of months." Time is elastic for children. The words "a few weeks" might as well mean forever or tomorrow. They welcomed her with all the enthusiasm of kids who'd just been told their favourite storybook character was moving in. Mum read to them while they snuggled on her bed. They watched old musicals together under blankets, Mia's hair spilling across Mum's lap. At first, I felt grateful. Grateful she was still here. Grateful my kids were making memories. Grateful to have another adult in the house, even if that adult needed help getting in and out of the shower. But underneath the gratitude, a new kind of tiredness settled in. Before Mum moved in, our evenings were chaotic, yes, but familiar. Homework, dinner, baths, bedtime stories. Now add sorting Mum's pills, checking her blood pressure, helping her with exercises, answering her questions about every noise in the house. What was that bang? The washing machine. And that beep? The microwave. And that voice? Siri, Mum. It's 2025. She lives in your phone now. She was funny. She was grateful. She also needed me in a way I hadn't experienced since I was a child. "I don't want to be a nuisance," she'd say, asking if I could just pop into her room to move her leg a bit, refill her water, fetch her glasses. "You're not a nuisance," I'd reply. And I meant it. But cumulatively, the tiny requests formed a constant background hum. Work noticed. "You seem distracted," my boss said on a Zoom call. "Everything okay at home?" Yeah, I lied. Mum's just recovering. She's staying with us for a bit. It's fine. He nodded, doing that tight-lipped sympathetic face people do when they're glad it's not them. "Well, as long as you're managing," he said, "we've got that big deliverable next month." Managing? Another elastic word. I stretched myself around my mother's needs, my children's demands, my husband's work trips, my job, my own basic bodily functions. I ate standing up more often. I showered later. I answered emails at midnight. It'll calm down once she's steady on her feet, Mark said, rubbing my shoulders one night when he found me loading the dishwasher at 11 p.m. Yeah, I said, once she's back in her house. We both went quiet at that. We hadn't said the other part out loud yet. Going back might not be as simple as we'd assumed. Chapter 3. The Invisible Shift. The thing about a few weeks is that there is no alarm that goes off when they're over. There's no official ending. One day, you realize you've stopped using the phrase, "Spring came and went. Mum ditched the walker for a cane. Then, when she was feeling bold, nothing at all." "She's doing brilliantly," the physio said, beaming. "She's very motivated." "I'm not staying here forever," she told him with exaggerated impatience. "I've got a garden that needs me." But when we started talking about her going home, the conversations got complicated. Her bungalow, once cosy, now seemed like an obstacle course. 2 steps at the front door, a narrow hallway, the bedroom at the back, the bathroom without handrails. "Maybe we can get some adaptations," I said. "Grab bars, a rail by the steps." She nodded. But when the social worker came to assess, the list of recommended changes grew. Stair lift, walk-in shower, raised toilet, all doable, all expensive, all slow. "Council funding can help with some of this," the woman said. "But there's a waiting list. It might be months." "Months?" Mum repeated, eyes darting between us. "We'll make it work," I said automatically. "You can stay with us as long as you need." There it was. The moment the few weeks got extended indefinitely, without me quite realizing it. At home, I tried to joke about it. "Well," I said, dropping onto the sofa next to Mark, "congratulations! You officially live with your mother-in-law now." He smiled. "She's not so bad," he said. "She makes great tea, and the kids adore her." It was true. Mia drew pictures of our house that now always included Granny in the front window. Ben got used to having someone who always clapped at his piano practice. When Mum baked, the whole house smelled like my childhood. So why did my chest feel tight? Because other things had changed too. Mark and I stopped having real conversations in the evenings. By the time the kids were in bed and Mum had her hot water bottle and book, we were both done. We scrolled our phones, we watched whatever was on, we fell asleep. Intimacy shrank to a kiss on the cheek and, "You okay?" mumbled through toothbrush foam. My job didn't shrink, though. Workloads don't care about your personal life. I'd do school run, get Mum settled, log on at 9, work with one ear tuned for my name, break to make lunch, answer emails while stirring pasta, feel guilty for not being fully present at either. "You're doing great," people kept saying. Friends, colleagues, my brother calling from his life in another city. "You're amazing," he said. "I wish I could help more, but, with the kids and the commute." He had kids too, a mortgage, a full-time job. "Don't worry," I always said. "We've got it." We, meaning me. I didn't notice how resentfully I started saying it until one night when Mum complained about the laundry being mixed up. "I had to sort my pants from Ben's," she said with a little laugh. "That's a first." I'll do better, I snapped, harsher than I meant. I'm sorry your underwear doesn't feel prioritized in the middle of all of this. Her face fell. I didn't mean she started. I know, I said, already hating myself. I'm just tired. The apology felt stuck in my throat. So did the confession that I was beginning to feel like a nurse, a maid, a cruise director, and a juggler all in one, and I wasn't sure how much longer I could keep all the balls in the air without dropping one. Chapter 4. The Sandwich Crushing In. They call my age group the sandwich generation. Stuck in the middle, kids on one side, aging parents on the other. Always something or someone in your hands. I didn't feel like a neat sandwich. I felt like a piece of toast getting thinner, spreading myself too far. It showed in little ways. In the school playground, I stood with my phone half hidden, answering an email about Mum's follow-up appointment while Mia tugged at my coat. "Mum, look," she said. "I can hang upside down." "That's great, sweetie," I muttered, eyes still on the appointment letter. At home, I found myself snapping at Ben for leaving his shoes in the hallway. "I nearly tripped," I hissed. "If I fall, who looks after Granny? Think, Ben." He stared at me, hurt. "I'm sorry," he said. I lay awake that night, replaying the look on his face. I was teaching my children, without meaning to, that they were responsibilities, not kids. That everything was weighed on a scale of, how much trouble will this cause, Mum? Mark tried, in his own way. He took over more cooking. He did the food shop. He drove Mum to a couple of appointments so I could work. But he was tired too. He had pressures I didn't see at his job. Expectations from a boss who liked to send emails at 10 p.m. and then ask at 9 a.m. why there'd been no reply. One night, after Mum had gone to bed, we both reached for the remote at the same time. "You have it," I said. "You have it," he said. We laughed. Then, somehow, inexplicably, we were arguing. "You always act like you're the only one carrying weight," he said, exasperated. "I know your mum being here is hard, but I'm allowed to be tired too." I stared at him. "I didn't say you weren't," I replied. "You didn't have to," he said. "It's there, in every sigh. Every time I sit down and you throw me that look because there's still a load of laundry in the machine." "I do everything," I blurted. "For the kids, for my mum, for this house. I don't stop." "Neither do I," he shot back. "You just don't see it because I do it outside these four walls." We sat there, both breathing hard, realizing we weren't actually angry at each other. We were angry at the situation, at aging, at mortgages, at a system that assumes somebody, usually a daughter, will simply stretch to fill in every gap when older people need care. Later that week, I went to a parents' evening at school. The teacher smiled sympathetically. "Ben's doing well," she said, "but he seems a bit anxious lately. He worries if you're late. He asked what would happen if his grandma fell when you were at work." I swallowed. "He did?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "We talked about emergencies, about adults who can help, but it might help if you reassure him at home." At home. Except Home didn't feel like a place of reassurance anymore. It felt like a waiting room, like a triage centre. Who needs what first? Mum's prescription needs renewing. Ben needs help with his project. Mia needs a costume for some theme day I forgot about. My boss needs the report by Friday. Where was I in that list? Nowhere. One Sunday afternoon, I lost it. It was something stupid. Mum had rearranged the kitchen cabinets. I moved the mugs here, she said cheerfully, closer to the kettle. Makes more sense, don't you think? Maybe it did. Maybe it was objectively better. But standing there, looking at the familiar shelves changed without my consent, something in me snapped. Can you please stop moving my stuff? I said, louder than I intended. This is my house. I need things to stay where I put them. Mum's smile disappeared. I was only trying to help, she said softly. Well, it's not helpful, I shot back. Nothing is where I left it. I am tired of having to adjust to everything. We both froze. The kids in the living room went quiet. Mark looked up from his laptop, eyes widening. Mum's face crumpled in slow motion. I didn't realize I was such a burden, she said after a moment, her voice shaking. Maybe I should just move back and fall in my own kitchen next time. Guilt crashed over me, fast and hot. That's not what I started. She held up a hand. I know I'm not easy, she said. I know I am. One more thing. If I could drive myself, if I could bend like I used to, if I could magic myself better, I would. I don't want to be the reason you shout in your own home. She turned and walked slowly, stiffly toward her room. The sound of a door closing was like a period at the end of a sentence I hadn't meant to write. Chapter 5. The conversation I was avoiding. I slept badly that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mum's face. I heard her say burden, like it was a word she'd been holding in for months. The next morning, I found her at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of tea, staring at nothing. I sat down opposite her. I'm sorry, I said. She didn't look up. It's all right, she said. You finally said what you've been feeling, better out than in. That's not fair, I replied. It wasn't about you, not really. It was about everything. She sighed. The thing about living with your mother, she said, is that everything tends to funnel through her. We become the symbol for all the ways life isn't how you planned. She wasn't wrong. I'd had a plan once. Not a detailed, colour-coded one, just a shape. Career, kids, holidays, worrying about Mum and Dad from a manageable distance, not from across the hall. I'm grateful you're here, I said. I know it doesn't sound like it, but I am. I'm glad I can help. I feel like I've been holding my breath for a year, waiting for things to go back to normal. And they haven't. They might not. She nodded slowly. What was normal? She asked. Driving 30 minutes to check on me once a week? Worrying if I'd fallen and couldn't get up? That wasn't sustainable either. I blinked. I never thought of it that way, I admitted. She gave me a small, sad smile. You think I don't feel guilty? She asked. Watching you run around like a madwoman, hearing you on work calls while you're cooking my dinner. I hear you crying in the shower, you know. Heat rose in my cheeks. I tried to be quiet, I said weakly. You are, she said. I'm your mother. I still hear it. We sat in silence for a moment, steam curling between us from our mugs. So, what do we do? I asked. Because this, I gestured around at the kitchen, the house, the invisible web of responsibilities. This is breaking me, and I don't want to hurt you. I don't want my kids to remember their childhood as just everyone being tired and snappy. She took a breath. I've been thinking, she said, about my house, about selling it. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? I said. No, that's your home. It was, she said. I loved it. I still do. But I'm scared there now. Every time I picture going back, all I see is the floor coming toward my face. I swallowed. I thought you wanted to go back, I said. I did, she said. At first, I clung to it. It was my independence, my proof I wasn't done yet. But things change. I changed. My body changed. I don't think I can live there safely on my own anymore. The admission felt huge, like watching a tree uproot itself. I don't want to live the rest of my life in your spare room either, she added gently. Not because I don't love you, but because I want you to have your life, and I want mine, some version of it anyway. What are you saying? I asked. She pushed a brochure across the table. Senior apartments. Not a care home, not a hospital, not a bungalow with treacherous steps. A building with handrails, lifts, emergency cords, and, crucially, doors that locked from the inside. I went online, she said. There are places, not too far, little flats for old bats like me, with people around, activities, a hairdresser in the lobby, for heaven's sake. I could have my own kettle, my own mugs to organise. I picked up the brochure. The photos showed smiling grey-haired people drinking tea, playing cards, gardening in raised beds. Marketing, I thought. But underneath my scepticism, something else stirred. Relief. If we sold the house, she continued, I could afford one, maybe with a bit of help. I could be near you, but not on top of you. Her eyes met mine. You'd still see me, she said, probably more than you do now, with all the avoiding you do to get 5 minutes alone. But you'd also go home to your own sofa without feeling guilty every time. Tears prickled at my eyes. I thought you'd be offended if I suggested something like this, I admitted, like I was trying to get rid of you. She snorted. I'm old, not stupid, she said. I can see you're stretched thin. I don't want your marriage to crumble because you were too polite to tell me you needed some space. It's not about politeness, I said. It's cultural, emotional. Daughters who put their mothers in places are villains in half the stories I grew up with. And daughters who sacrifice themselves completely are saints, she said. Saints are usually dead by the end. I don't want that for you. We both laughed through our tears. Will you help me look? She asked. Go on some tours. Ask the questions I forget to ask. Of course, I said. We'll do it together. The kids were cautiously curious when we floated the idea. Granny's getting her own flat? Mia asked. Like her own house, but smaller? Kind of, I said. It'll be her space, but still close. Will she still come to Sunday dinner? Ben asked. And my games? If she wants to, I said, we're not shipping her to Mars, mate. He shrugged. As long as we can still go see her, he said. I like her stories. Me too, I said. Chapter 6. A different kind of together. It took time. Nothing in elder care moves quickly. There were forms, financial assessments, waiting lists, viewings of places that smelled like boiled cabbage and despair. But eventually, we found one. A small, bright flat in a building 10 minutes from our house. 1 bedroom, a balcony just big enough for 2 chairs and a potted plant. An emergency cord in the bathroom that made Mum roll her eyes. It's like living in a James Bond film, she said. So many gadgets. The day we moved her in, it felt bittersweet. We packed up her bungalow room by room. Her wedding photo. The armchair Dad used to fall asleep in. The mug I'd made her in primary school that said "World's Best Mum" in wonky letters. We took what we could. We donated what we couldn't. At the new place, I helped her line up her spices in a kitchen that for once belonged entirely to her. Put the mugs wherever you like, I said. You're the queen of this castle now. She smiled, small and proud. The first night, I hovered. Are you sure you'll be all right? I asked for the 3rd time, fussing with the cushions on her sofa. I have a panic button, she said dryly, and a neighbour named Edna who has already told me in detail about her bunions. I think I'll survive. Go home, be with your family. I'll call you tomorrow. Not if I've fallen. Just to annoy you. She didn't fall. She did call. We started a new rhythm. Instead of hearing her kettle whistle from the next room, I'd drive 10 minutes and drink tea at her table. Instead of hearing her through the wall at night, I'd call her and say, "How was your day?" and hear stories about chair yoga, the loud man in 3B, and the ongoing battle over whether the lounge should have the TV on all day. My house felt different too, lighter. The spare room became an actual spare room again, with a real bed and fewer medical supplies. Mark and I fought less. The kids seemed easier. Or maybe I just had more bandwidth to see them as kids, not as items on a list. One evening, a few months after Mum moved, Ben asked, "Do you miss Granny being here all the time?" I thought about it. I miss some things, I said, like walking past her door and hearing her sing badly, and knowing if I made too much dinner, there was always someone to help eat it. But I also like that now, when we visit, we're visiting, not juggling. Do you miss it? He shrugged. A bit, he said. I liked knowing she was just in the next room. But she's happier now. She has old people friends. He said it without malice. Mia chimed in. I like her balcony, she said. She lets me water the plant and I always spill and she doesn't shout. See, I said, win-win. I still help. Of course I do. I take her to appointments. I bring her heavy shopping. I deal with the admin of bills that come in confusing envelopes. I'm still a daughter in the sandwich generation. The difference is I'm not flattened anymore. I've learned that being there for my mother doesn't have to mean being there every second of every day. I've learned that I can love her fiercely and still say, I need my house, my marriage, my time with my kids. I've learned that guilt is sneaky, but it doesn't have to be in charge. The other day at work, a colleague asked how my mum was. She's good, I said. Living in one of those senior apartments, she complains about the food and flirts with the man on the 4th floor. My colleague laughed. You're such a good daughter, she said. Moving her in with you for a year, I could never do that. I smiled. I'm not sure I could do it again either, I replied. But I'm glad we did, and I'm glad we found another way. She tilted her head. I worry about my parents getting older, she admitted, about being stuck in the middle like you. You probably will be, I said. Most of us are, eventually. Just remember you're in the sandwich too, not just the filling. You get to matter. That night, after the kids were asleep and the dishwasher was humming, I sat on the sofa with Mark. We weren't too tired to talk. How's your mum? He asked. She made a new friend, I said. Edna's bunions have been dethroned as the main topic. He laughed. Are we okay? He asked after a moment. I thought about it. Yeah, I said. We're better. I think I can breathe again. He leaned his head on my shoulder. Good, he said. Because I was starting to worry I'd have to move into a senior apartment just to get some rest. You wouldn't last a week, I said. Too many rules. We sat there, quietly, the house feeling like ours in a way it hadn't in a long time. My phone buzzed. Just watched a terrible movie in the lounge. Wish you'd been here to mock it with me. Love you. I smiled. Love you too. See you Sunday. A few weeks had turned into a year. A year had turned into a turning point. We hadn't failed by not making it work forever under one roof. We'd adjusted. We'd chosen a different shape for our family. Not the one I'd imagined at the start, but one where my mum was safe, my kids were kids, my marriage had room, and I, somewhere in all that, had a life that didn't only exist in the gaps between everyone else's needs. Call it selfish. Call it survival. Call it balance. Whatever the name, it feels, finally, like something I can live inside without disappearing.